Well, good afternoon and thanks for tuning into the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. Here is wishing all of you a very happy Janmashtami. And now a look at the headlines. Code of Conduct for Legislatures among 5 reforms suggested by Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu to improve functioning of Parliament and state legislatures. At release of a book, Moving On, Moving Forward, on his first year in office, Prime Minister Modi calls him a person driven by holistic vision to improve life of the common man. President Ramnath Kovind in Cyprus on the first leg of his 3-nation tour to address the House of Representatives there. Calls upon Indian community to contribute towards the process of nation building. India has made a rapid progress in increasing access to sanitation in schools, says United Nations in its annual report. Notes proportion of schools without sanitation facility has decreased at a fast pace in the country. Third day of heavy rains in Delhi and surrounding areas. Water logging reported at several places. 20 deaths due to rain-related incidents in Uttar Pradesh. Threat of flood looms over many western parts of the state. And Janmashtami being celebrated with a traditional fervour across the country. People throng temples across states to mark the birthday of Lord Krishna. President, Vice President and Prime Minister greet people on the occasion. Vice President of India and Chairman of Rajya Sabha M. Venkaiah Naidu has urged all political parties to evolve a code of conduct for MPs and MLAs both within and outside the houses. He said that the move will be imperative for effective functioning of legislatures and will also restore the confidence of the people in parliamentary institutions. He also urged political parties to transcend political considerations and speak in unison on the issues of national importance. He said this at the release of the book Moving On, Moving Forward, which chronicles his experience during first year in office.
On the occasion of the release of the book Moving On, Moving Forward, which chronicles his experience during first year in office, Vice President Naidu expressed concern about the functioning of legislators in the country. He suggested 5 reforms to improve the functioning of Parliament and state legislatures. These include Code of Conduct for legislators, both within and outside the houses, legislators to resign before changing party, and anti-defection cases to be decided in 3 months' time. Election petitions and criminal cases against political leaders to be decided quickly by special benches of higher courts. A national policy to ensure consistency in having upper houses in states, and cleansing of polity.
Political parties must evolve a consensus on the code of conduct for their members, both inside the legislature and outside of it. Otherwise, people will lose confidence after seeing what is happening at times. There has to, because after all, our system is based on political parties, Indian parliamentary democracy. It's not mere members, the parties, because we have whip and we have voting also, we have a disqualification also on the basis of political parties' directives. So I hope at the earliest, all the parties come together. There's no meaning in this party has done. You say, no, they have also done it. And they say, you have done it earlier. And you say that you have done much more earlier. We have to put an end to this and then come to some conclusion in the larger interest of our system and our country.
He also urged political parties to consider women's issues seriously and legislate measures to empower women through reservation in all spheres of public life, including legislature.
Political parties will consider the issues dispassionately and legislate measures to empower women through reservation in all spheres of public life, including legislatures. We must move towards ending discrimination against women on the basis of religion and other factors.
Stressing that agriculture is the basic culture of the country, Vice President Naidu called for a clear bias towards farmers and resource allocation to ensure remunerative farming and a robust food security. He also said that all efforts must be geared towards creation of cleaner polity and transparent people-centered governance. Mishras report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The book on the Vice President was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday, and the Prime Minister said that Vice President Naidu provides a visionary and disciplined leadership and that he's passionate about the welfare of farmers. Prime Minister Modi also said that the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana came into being due to the efforts of M. Venkaiah Naidu.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi released the book Moving On, Moving Forward, a year in office, published on Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on completion of 1 year in office on Sunday.
उपराष्ट्रपति के रूप में वेंकैया जी के सरोकारों, यात्राओं, कार्यक्रमों का चित्रों के माध्यम से एक लेखा जोखा प्रस्तुत करती है ये पुस्तक.
Prime Minister Modi said that Vice President Naidu performs all his duties with utmost diligence and adapts into every role with ease. He said that the Vice President has the ability to endear himself to people across all sections while also being a disciplinarian.
हमेशा एक विजन के साथ काम करना, उसके लिए एक रोड मैप बनाना, एक्शन प्लान बनाना, स्ट्रेटेजी बनाना और उसके लिए संसाधन जुटा करके योग्य व्यक्तियों को जोड़ करके उसको सफल बनाना, ये पूरा एक उनका होलिस्टिक व्यू रहता है.
The Prime Minister also recalled that when former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee wanted to include Venkaiah Naidu in his cabinet, he had requested for a rural development portfolio for ensuring welfare of farmers, agriculture and rural India.
उन्होंने अटल जी को जाकर आग्रह किया कि आप मुझे ऐसे बड़े-बड़े कोई डिपार्टमेंट मत दीजिए, मुझे ग्रामीण विकास दीजिए, मैं उसमें अपनी जिंदगी खपाना चाहता हूं. यानी बड़े अच्छे तामझाम वाले जरा जिसमें एक सेलिब्रल वैल्यू होता है उससे बाहर निकल करके मुझे ग्रामीण विकास चाहिए. वे स्वभाव से किसान है, वृत्ति और प्रवृत्ति से किसान है. किसान के लिए कुछ करना, किसान के लिए कुछ होना, ये उनके जहन में ऐसा भरा हुआ है क्योंकि उन्होंने जीवन भी ऐसे ही गुजारा है.
The Prime Minister praised the Vice President for his oratory. He also complimented him for presenting a report card of sorts about his first year in office, containing the achievements accomplished both inside and outside Parliament. Mishras report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The idea of releasing a book on completion of 1 year in office of Vice President Naidu was to present a report to the people to ensure transparency and accountability. Vice President Naidu visited 28 of the 29 states in the country during his first term in office, setting a record for Vice Presidents of India. Former Prime Ministers H.D. Deve Gowda and Manmohan Singh also attended the book launch event.
Moving on, moving forward. A year in office का लोकार्पण.
The 245-page book with 7 chapters deals with the Vice President's focused engagement on 4 key issues: unrealized demographic dividend, need for an effective ecosystem for farmers to thrive, scientific advancements to better the life of people, and public awareness about rich Indian heritage.
वेंकैया जी के सरोकारों, यात्राओं, कार्यक्रमों का चित्रों के माध्यम से एक लेखा जोखा प्रस्तुत करती है ये पुस्तक.
Present on the occasion, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan said that the book is a chronicle of how a person from humble origins could rise to an exalted position and give effective leadership.
इस सामान्य से सामान्य घर का व्यक्ति भी अपने कर्तृत्व के आधार पर जीवन में खुद भी कुछ करता है, लेकिन एक अच्छा नेतृत्व भी दे सकता है, चाहे राजनीति हो या चाहे सामाजिक अनेक अंग हो.
Meanwhile, Finance Minister and Leader of the House in the Rajya Sabha, Arun Jaitley, said that Vice President Naidu works relentlessly without even a day's rest.
That his activities were always 24/7 into 365. I don't think he's taken rest ever for a single day ever since I've known him.
Attending the event, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said that the themes that Vice President Naidu explored during his extensive travels in the last 1 year could become a national agenda to be pursued.
Visited 56 universities, 15 research institutions, addressed 29 convocations, reach out to 450 people every day, and met 22 foreign leaders in India, visited 3 Latin American countries, 27 bills passed in the 3 sessions of the Rajya Sabha. The achievements of the Honorable Vice President are truly praiseworthy.
Former Prime Minister H.D. Deve Gowda said that running the legislatures has become a complicated task recently. He, however, asserted that Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu was doing his best in running the Rajya Sabha by protecting the interests of all sections of the House.
He has done his best to protect the dignity and decency while conducting business.
The former Prime Minister also hailed Vice President's dedication and commitment towards the country's progress. The book was slated to be released earlier, but the function was postponed following the death of former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Kriti Mishras report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And Prasar Bharati Chairman A. Surya Prakash hailed the achievements of Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. He said that reforms suggested by the Vice President will improve the functioning of Parliament and state legislatures.
The other thing he spoke about was a code of conduct for members of Parliament. You see, when Mr. Shivraj Patil was Speaker of the Lok Sabha, in a presiding officers conference, I think it was in 1993, that he mooted the idea of a code of conduct, and that code of conduct was adopted by the presiding officers conference, speakers conference. Later, both houses of Parliament adopted it in the sense that the ethics committees of the two houses adopted it. Question now is one of enforcement. That is why what Mr. Venkaiah Naidu has said today is very important. To enforce that code of conduct, you have to have the political parties on board. So today he has appealed to all political parties to please enforce this code of conduct among your members. It must begin with Parliament, and in my view, it must extend to our representatives in all our legislative bodies, that is assemblies across the country.
In Midday News, we'll take a very short break here. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
On this edition of India's World, we will analyze the 6th RCEP meet.
All these countries would be able to put together a free trade agreement between these countries, and this would include not only goods, but equally importantly investments, services, e-commerce, intellectual property rights, technical cooperation, competition.
Time has come within the country that we scale up importance of having this kind of trading arrangement in place to be taken up at the highest political level.
So hard negotiations where we can create more space for Indian services to be really delivered in some of these nations, and fighting for our interests. And I think that's what all countries are doing, and I think some countries are definitely more influential than others.
News from Karnataka now, where results for the 2,267 out of the total 2,664 seats in 102 urban local bodies have been declared, and the Congress has won 846 seats. The BJP follows close with 788 seats, whereas Congress ally JDS has got 307 seats. 270 seats have been won by independent candidates. Counting for the urban local bodies polls that took place across Karnataka on 31st of August began this morning amid tight security. The polling was held in 2,259 wards spread over 29 city municipalities, 53 town municipalities and 23 town panchayats, and in 135 wards of 3 city corporations of the state. Polling in 3 areas was postponed due to the onset of heavy rains and subsequent flash floods in Kodagu district. News from Jammu and Kashmir now, where massive cordon and search operations are underway at the moment at several villages in Pulwama. The operations began following the reports of the presence of terrorists in several villages. So far, there has been no reports of any exchange of fire in any of the villages included in the search. These operations, known as the area domination operations, are usually undertaken to keep the militants on the run and prevent them from establishing a foothold in the region. And with an aim to regulate online sale of medicines across the country, the Health Ministry has proposed draft rules on the sale of drugs by e-pharmacies. And according to the draft rules, no person will sell or stock sale of drugs through an unregistered e-pharmacy portal. E-pharmacies will have to apply for the grant of registration through the online portal of the central government. With a single license in any state, e-pharmacies will be able to sell drugs all over the country. The registration issued to any person for e-pharmacy will remain valid for a period of 3 years from the date of its issuance, and a renewal of registration will have to be done. The details of the patient shall be kept confidential and shall not be disclosed to any person other than the central government or the state government concerned if need be. However, the sale of tranquilizers, psychotropic drugs, narcotics and habit-forming drugs have been prohibited through these portals. The premises from where the e-pharmacy business is conducted shall also be inspected every 2 years by a team of officers authorized by the Central Licensing Authority. It would be binding on these e-pharmacies to deliver the drugs in a specific time that will be told to the patient. And the move is also aimed to provide patients accessibility to generic and genuine medicines from authentic online portals. And petrol and diesel prices have touched their highest levels today, mainly due to dramatic fall in rupee and a sharp rise in crude oil rates. Petrol price in Delhi has risen to a record of 79.15 rupees a litre, and diesel has climbed to a fresh high of 71.15 rupees a litre, according to the price notification of state-owned fuel retailers. Now, this follows a 31 paise per litre hike in prices. Prices in Delhi, however, are the cheapest in all metros and most state capitals due to the lower sales tax or VAT. Since 16th of August, petrol prices have risen by over 2 rupees per litre. Diesel prices, on the other hand, have risen by 2.42 rupees a litre during this period. Now let's get you all the weather updates. And heavy rains lashed the national capital and nearby areas for the third consecutive day today. Earlier on Sunday, rains caused waterlogging as well as traffic congestions on major intersections in the city. Delhi Traffic Police reported waterlogging at various places, including in the Prasth Marg, Modi Mill flyover, Okhla Sabzi Mandi and Bhairo Marg as well. More rain has been predicted for the city. Meanwhile, 20 people have been killed and over a dozen have been injured in rain-related incidents in the state of Uttar Pradesh. The Indian Air Force had to be pressed to rescue 14 people marooned due to heavy rainfall there. The rescue was made in Lalitpur and Jhansi district. Shahjahanpur bore the maximum brunt of the weather onslaught on Saturday, as 6 persons died after being struck by lightning, while 7 others were injured. And the Met Department has predicted a widespread rainfall in the eastern and western parts of the state for another 2 days as well. And 4 lakh rupees is being given to the kin of those killed in the rains. Meanwhile, in the state of Uttarakhand, heavy rains have been reported at several places, leading to landslides. Heavy rains led to a rise in the water flow of Kempty Falls in Tehri Garhwal district, and tourists were rescued and shops were closed later. And on to the other top story. According to a United Nations report, India has made a rapid progress in increasing access to sanitations in schools across the country. The new study has revealed that between the year 2000 and 2016, the proportion of schools in India without any sanitation facility has decreased at a fast pace, leading to an increase in the number of school-age children from 352 million to 378 million. The report, however, says that a 2016-17 survey on menstrual hygiene shows that only 2/3 of schools in India provide menstrual hygiene education, with wide variation between the states. The report further says that millions of children globally are going to school without basic hygienic facilities, and the goal of the universal access to basic water, sanitation and hygiene remains a huge challenge. On to some other news. President Ramnath Kovind is in Cyprus on the first leg of his 3-nation tour. Earlier today, he was accorded a ceremonial reception. He held talks with the Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiades on a host of issues, including stepping up bilateral trade. At present, delegation-level talks are underway, and this will be followed by signing of agreements and MOUs. The President today will also address an extraordinary session of the House of Representatives of Cyprus. And earlier, President Ramnath Kovind, along with First Lady Savita Kovind, reached Cyprus on Sunday. They were received at the airport by Cyprus Energy Minister. And President Ramnath Kovind had tweeted, India and Cyprus helped each other in their freedom struggles and after independence helped each other in nation building. President Kovind also said that he is happy to visit the country, and which is one of our closest and most steadfast partners in the international community. He said, my delegation and I bring warm and friendly currents from the Indian Ocean to the waters of the Mediterranean. And later in the day, the President was given an Indian community reception in the capital city of Nicosia. President Kovind said that India was proud of its diaspora and their achievements, adding that they are the true cultural ambassadors of India and will deepen our ties with Cyprus. The current visit of the Indian President to Cyprus is taking place after 2009, when the then President Pratibha Patil visited the country. And earlier, President of Cyprus, Anastasiades, had paid a state visit to India last year.
मेरी राष्ट्रपति अनास्तासियादेस के साथ मुलाकात होगी। हम लोग भारत और साइप्रस के बीच के संबंधों को और मजबूत बनाने पर चर्चा करेंगे। मुझे साइप्रस की संसद के एक एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी सेशन को भी संबोधित करने का अवसर प्राप्त हो रहा है। मुझे बताया गया है कि साइप्रस में भारतीय स्टूडेंट्स काफ़ी बड़ी संख्या में। दोनों देशों के युवाओं के साथ अपने संबंधों को मजबूत बनाने के लिए मैं साइप्रस यूनिवर्सिटी में स्टूडेंट्स को भी संबोधित करूंगा और इस अवसर पर गुरुदेव रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर की प्रतिमा का अनावरण भी करूंगा।
And in fact, even as we speak right now, the delegation-level talks are underway at the moment, and this is being followed by signing of agreements and MOUs.
Enjoy a long-standing deep-rooted friendships and ties based on shared values and mutually beneficial partnership, both at the level of governments and of our two societies. This is a partnership which we greatly value and one which we jointly aspire to further reinforce and strengthen. In this respect, the exchange of views at the highest level, the enhancement of our institutional legal framework of cooperation through today's signing of memoranda of cooperation in the fields of financial intelligence and environment. In addition to the 4 bilateral agreements signed during my visit on April 17th here, is a testament of our resolve to explore new areas of beneficial cooperation, as well as enhance existing ones, 16 in number, to the benefit of our countries and peoples. Today, we have held extensive consultations in an atmosphere of friendship and mutual understanding that traditionally characterizes the excellent level of our relationship. We discussed a number of issues in a wide spectrum of bilateral interest and identified specific areas on which we can work together to further solidify our partnership. In this regard, we agreed to establish a ministerial working group to oversee the conclusion of pending bilateral agreements and ensure the optimum implementation of existing ones, particularly those in the fields of economy, merchant shipping, investments and tourism. We also explored.
So that was President of Cyprus, Anastasiades, who held a delegation-level talks with the President Ramnath Kovind. And today in the evening, President Kovind would also address the House of Representatives in Cyprus. We'll keep getting you all the updates on that big story. And now let's get you all the action from the Asian Games that concluded yesterday. Well, India ended its Asian Games 2018 campaign with the highest medal tally at the tournament ever, with a total of 69 medals. India has thus surpassed its previous highest tally of 65 medals that it had registered at the 2010 edition of the Asian Games at Guangzhou. And the closing ceremony took place after the completion of the triathlon event, and more than 10,000 athletes gave their best at the Asian Games this year, winning medals for their respective nations. 465 gold medals were won by the athletes of 28 countries, and 37 out of 45 participating nations were able to win medals at the Asian Games 2018. And this is India's best performance at the Asian Games. India ended 8th on the medals tally with 69 medals in total. That included 15 gold, 24 silver and 30 bronze medals. And finally, Janmashtami, which marks the birth of Lord Krishna, is being celebrated across the country today, and devotees are thronging temples to offer prayers to Lord Krishna in Mathura and Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh. Thousands of temples, including the Banke Bihari Temple, Prem Mandir ISKCON Temple and Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi Temple, have been tastefully decorated in Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna. Another common form of celebration followed usually in Gujarat and Maharashtra is the practice of Dahi Handi, and in Mumbai, Govinda troops will compete in Dahi Handi celebrations by forming human pyramids and breaking pitchers strung high above the ground for hefty cash prizes. And President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted the people on the occasion. In his message, President Kovind said that Lord Krishna in his message has preached duty without thought of reward. Kovind hoped that the festival will inspire people to follow the path of virtue and righteousness in thought, word and deed. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said that the festival reminds us of the divine life of Lord Krishna and signifies the victory of good over evil. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also greeted people on the festival today. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.